The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam. Sam, it's been a while. How are you doing?
It has been a while. Actually, I'm good, man.
The people haven't heard your voice
rumors.
in like 2 weeks, probably.
That's true. And we were just talking about before we started recording here, we're both a little bit sick still.
It's true.
So my voice is not as pretty as I hope it normally is. But yeah, man, I listened to the last episode. Kellen did a great job. I did hear some rumors that I was holding out.
Yep.
I will just say I'm neither here to confirm nor deny, but your people and my people took care of that behind the scenes, so we're good to go, and here we are.
We both went to an NBA game since the last time we recorded. I was at the Philadelphia 76ers Phoenix Suns game. You went to a Toronto-Washington game in Toronto and sat the closest you've ever sat to an NBA game. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, people ask why Toronto and Washington. The real reason is because of a buddy of mine is a Wizards fan, and Toronto's the closest NBA city to me, so it's kind of like you take what you can get. But yeah, I sat courtside at an NBA game for the first time ever, which was pretty cool. Normally, definitely would not be able to afford that. Got like a really, really amazing deal on these seats. And yeah, NBA athletes are pretty insane up close, as it turns out.
Yeah, it really is. How was that game? Was it a fun one?
It was awesome, dude. I also think I would encourage people who don't live in Phoenix to go. I mean, I would encourage people to support the NBA product in general. But, you know, if you're a Suns fan abroad, so to speak, which is somewhere else in the country, I would encourage you to go and watch other teams live, because I think it gives you a different, a kind of newfound appreciation for what the Suns do. One thing that I was noticing, you know, these are two teams, not to shit on the Toronto Raptors or the Washington Wizards in this particular game. As a matter of fact, I thought the Raptors played very well, but these are two teams kind of more towards the back end of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And there's a certain, like, just stiltedness, possession by possession to their offensive flow that I think you feel in some of these other teams that I really think, especially with the way Suns fans have talked about Chris Paul this year, that we really take for granted that there is never that feeling. Maybe there's been that feeling at some points, like especially in the past month without Kevin Durant, but for the most part, you can kind of understand the offensive process to what the Suns are trying to do, especially in the half court. Whereas a lot of these other teams, you watch them, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, their point guard play,
right?
Like for the Wizards last night, who were starting DeLon Wright. Their point guard play is dog shit, and they have to rely on transition, otherwise they can't score. So there's just like a lot of teams, and you know, you don't have to see teams live in order to feel that. You could just watch it on League Pass. But I do think there's an appreciation you get from seeing it live as well. And the other thing I will say though, like, watching a team like the Raptors up close that's just stacked to the brim with athletes versus the Suns who like never dunk in general. Like I got a Scotty Barnes did a 360 in transition, a two-handed 360 dunk. OG Anunoby did like a reverse double pump. Chris Boucher got like an insane putback. Like it's just kind of also weird to watch teams that just have levels of athleticism we could never hope to achieve. But yeah, it was really just an amazing experience.
There is something incredible about sitting up close, because I think there's two things that stood out to me. I was actually lucky enough to sit courtside at a Suns Wizards game in like 2017 or something like that. It was a while back, but funny enough, it was the Wizards as well. And what you really realize up close is they're huge. I mean, and you kind of know that, but like it's not really until you're really close to them that you realize they're just all massive. And they're so fast for their size. And those are the two things that completely blew me away. Because it's not just the speed at full speed. One time I sat like ninth row to see the Miami Heat LeBron teams when he was like at his peak athletically. And on a fast break dunk, it was like it was like seeing something not human happen in front of me. But when you're up close to just seeing how they dribble and how fast they move with their dribble moves, it's like, I don't know how anyone could defend anything that's happening. I was watching Bradley Beal going, this doesn't seem humanly possible what he's doing right now. And on the other side, TJ Warren, by the way, back on those old teams, had a great game, and I was watching him play.
2017.
Yeah. Funny enough, but
I know it was a while ago. Did you have any like fun stories of like, because for me the part I was most excited about also with this experience, and why I would encourage, again, courtside, out of sight for a lot of people, but like if you could just get into the lower bowl, you can hear the players. You can really hear the player chatter. Did you have any fun takeaways from that game?
Well, for me, I was like 3 seats away from the Suns bench, so I was like right next. I was practically sitting on the bench with them.
That's so cool.
And Booker wasn't playing. Booker was injured in that game, so he's sitting basically next to us in a suit. But Jared Dudley was on this team. That gives you insight. So it was the year that Booker had 70. It was that team in particular. So I guess it was 6 or 7 years ago. And Jared Dudley talked the entire game. And he didn't play much at all. And he was just on the bench, just barking the entire time, just either talking to the players on the Suns on the court, talking shit to the other players on the Wizards while on the court, or talking to his teammates next to him, or in the huddles, running the huddles. Like, dude clearly wanted to be a coach at some point, and it makes sense that he's a coach now, although the team he's coaching with is not playing so well lately. But yeah, that was the thing that really stood out to me. I was like, oh, Jared Dudley, he will not shut up. I actually think if I was on that team, I'd be like, man, you just have to tune him out at a certain point. That's a lot of talking. But yeah, I mean, the main thing that sticks out as you and I talked after you went to the game is just how athletic they are. It's really insane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was across from the benches. I wasn't behind the benches or anything, so I didn't hear that level of engagement out of the guys. That would have been even more fun. But just for the guys on the court, like, I don't know, it's fun to hear the grifting a little bit too. Like, it's fun to hear the complaining. I know we complain about it ourselves. But like Kristaps Porzingis, such a grifter, dude. Like, talking to the refs all game, every call. You know, if he thinks there's even an ounce of contact, like, he's gonna let them hear about it. Also, just like talk about a guy who's just completely massive. It's surreal to see someone like that up close.
Having a good season, so he's been good.
Yeah, he has, and he was really left to carry their team last night because Kuzma didn't play, neither did Beal. But I'm gonna have to do it again one day. I told myself, like, oh, this is like a bucket list thing, sit courtside at an NBA game. But like, now that I've done it, it just makes me want to do the same thing at a Suns game specifically, because I was just thinking, like, this is awesome, but like, I'm not technically a fan of these two teams. How awesome would this be?
Yeah, maybe you and
I was like, say, next to Devin Booker.
You and I need to like just put some money away every month and just like scout the arenas and find the cheapest courtside seats and just fly wherever that is. You know, Charlotte.
What do you think the cheapest
or something?
Yeah, probably like Charlotte
San Antonio.
Or like Minnesota. Back in the old days, it would have been Minnesota or Sacramento. I honestly don't know now.
Yeah, I mean, Charlotte,
San Antonio,
probably.
yeah.
Atlanta, maybe they're not so super exciting, but
OKC, I feel like there just can't be that much demand in that market.
Yeah, and they might be good next year, though. You know? I mean, I guess it depends on who these teams. Because if Wemby's on the Spurs, that's probably not going to be the cheapest ticket anymore. We'll see. All right, let's talk about the Suns. I think the first thing that I want to talk about, it's been, a few weeks since you and I talked on the podcast, and I think we just have to do a check-in on Devin Booker, because I mean, I guess the way I worded it is this his best season so far? Devin Booker's best season in the NBA?
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's the highest points per game of his career. He surpassed the highest points per game of his career recently. In the month of March, he did that. His highest field goal percentage, so he's shooting the best from the field, and it's only the second time in his career that he is now over 60% true shooting. I don't know if you saw that he's over 60% true shooting now.
Yeah.
And it's only the second time of his career. It's technically not the highest true shooting percentage of his career. The highest was a few seasons ago when he shot like almost 8 free throws a game, which had the biggest impact, I think, on his true shooting. And this season he's not really doing that, although he's shooting well from three and everywhere else. The free throws are not there the way it was that season. And I don't know. It's tough to like make a case against it, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah.
I think it's close between a lot of these various seasons. It's funny because on the one hand, You mentioned points per game, and kind of my first thought, it's sad that I thought this because I love the gaudy stat lines that we're getting this season, but I also did think, does points per game matter anymore the same way it did, because of the points inflation we've seen over the past 3 or 4 seasons? Is there really that much of a difference between 28 points in 2023 versus, say, 25, 26, 4 or 5 years ago? But I think the efficiency is really what makes it. He's got the point totals now, but he's also got efficiency like we've never seen before. It is actually good that you pointed out the free throw percentage. Imagine if he was at 92% free throw. Like he hit 92% of his free throws. This was in the 2019-2020 season. This year he's down to 85%. I say that as if that's bad. Obviously it's not. But it just makes you think what that true shooting percentage could be at if he matched that all-time high free throw percentage as well. He could be at 63, 64. He could be doing record-breaking stuff. And I even posted, I don't know if you saw it, I posted on Twitter earlier today, now that his field goal percentage, as you said, all-time high, career high, has exceeded 50% this season. He is the first guard listed at, or just player in general, listed at 6'5" or under to be averaging 28 points per game on at least 50% from the field. He's the first player to do it since Steph Curry in 2015-16, which it's insane that Steph Curry was able to hit 50% from the field
with the amount of threes
season,
he shoots.
Given how many, with the amount of threes he shoots. So that right there, that was his unanimous MVP
It's
season.
the best offensive season maybe by any player ever. That's by
a guard.
Yeah, it's the gold standard.
I don't know, by any player ever is, I think we could debate, but by a guard for sure.
Yeah.
And then to find another player 6'5" or under who had that sort of season, shot at least 50%, 28 points per game before Steph Curry's unanimous MVP season.
Yeah.
You have to go all the way back to the 80s when Adrian Dantley, who never shot threes,
doesn't shoot threes at all.
Basically just took runners, floaters, layups, and shot 85% on them.
Yeah.
He did it 6 times.
Jeez.
But that's what we're talking about with Booker right now and his level of efficiency. He's never had a 2-point percentage this good in his career.
Yeah.
His 3-point percentage, actually, his volume is down from the past season, but he's maintained his efficiency.
It's there, basically 37%.
He's a bucket from every spot on the floor.
He can't be stopped, and there's nobody that can guard him right now. We went over these stats. I went over these stats with Kellen, but they just haven't really changed. 33.4 points per game in the month of March at 67.5 true shooting percentage. It's that's Steph Curry numbers. And these teams are throwing everybody they can at him, and nobody can guard him. He's facing, the Kings game was such a great example. He's facing all these different kinds of defenders on the Kings here, and none of them could handle him. Either they would do their best and then get fouls, and then have to leave the game where somebody else now had to cover him, or he would just score over and over and over again. It's just time and time again in the month of March, he's ending the first half of the game with 17 points on 7 shots or something like that. And you're just okay, well, this is just what he's doing now. And it's just not something that we've ever seen from him. I just think it's absurd. I think the one thing you could make the case for in this not necessarily being his best season is just the total number of games he's missed. I think that's the one thing that's kind of...
Yeah, that's fine.
It's just, but I don't know, who cares? At a certain
point, if you're talking about it like if Book played at this level, but also played 70 games... Yeah,
that's
talking
an MVP,
about him maybe
right?
I don't know about MVP. Just
in the conversation,
I don't want to get into it, but
yeah,
it would be the same thing as last year. First team All NBA.
Yeah, for sure.
We'd be talking about first team All NBA. So look, you got to play games to win the accolades. That's fine, but the per game numbers that he's putting up right now, he's about to have, and I don't know if you realize this. I didn't realize that he's had this many months. He's about to have his 7th month of his career where he averages 30 points per game. And I think it's impressive that it's been that many.
Yeah.
I went into this research thinking maybe he'd have 1 or 2.
That's crazy.
But I didn't think it was 7. And a few
and they're
of these
all
months,
in the second half of the year, I'm guessing.
Most of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's crazy too. A few of them are August 2020, which was the bubble, which was only 8 games, but he averaged over 30 points per game.
He was incredible.
Or he was, but it's a shortened month. Or April of last year where he played, I think, 3 or 4 games, but technically I counted it. But I was looking for, is this his best month ever? And he's had months before where he averages 32, 33, even 34 points per game. He's never done it on this efficiency. I think the closest you get to getting a similar month where it's like not cheating, a full slate of games, March 2019, which is when the Suns were absolutely horrifically terrible, but he had that string of 55, 59.
It's kind of similar to right
games.
now, actually, with the wins and losses.
Yeah. He played 15 games in that month. He averaged 34 points per game, 62% true shooting. That's incredible.
Yeah, there was a week where he averaged like 48 points for a week or something like that.
Yeah. But like this month he's doing that, but 6 or 7% better on the true shooting numbers.
Yeah. It really
so
is
it's his
crazy.
best month.
Yeah.
It's his best month ever, and it's probably his best season ever.
I mean, technically right now, and I think this will change, but right now he is shooting less than last year. Like just taking less shots. Last year was his career high in field goal attempts, which is about 21 per game. Now he's at 20.5. So it's just about half a shot less per game. But the points are from 26.8 points last season to 28.2 so far this season. That's the difference in efficiency for him. There are 5 guards, including Booker, in the NBA averaging 28 points per game on 60% true shooting percentage. Do you want to try to guess them, or do you want me to just read them out?
I'll play along. I'll try and guess. It's just insane that points inflation has gotten to the point where there's 5 of them now.
5 guards only. 28 points per game.
Guards.
60% true shooting percentage or better. Who are they?
This season?
This season.
They're all this season?
This season, yeah.
It's fucking insane. Shea is one of them.
Shea's one of them, correct.
Okay, Book is one of them.
Book is one of them.
So there's 3 more?
It's 3 more, yeah.
What is Steph at this year?
Steph is one of them. Yeah.
Okay, he's at. I wasn't sure if he was at 28.
He counts. Yeah, I didn't have a games played filtered either. So.
Okay, now I'm thinking. So like Trey is above 28, but he doesn't hit the true shooting.
No, correct. Yeah.
Threshold.
Yeah.
Okay. Ja?
Nope, not Ja. Yeah, I think the other 2 won't be surprising. For you.
Donovan Mitchell.
No, Don's at 27
What?
point something. Yeah, he's just right below 20
Fuck.
points per
Wait.
game, yeah.
Okay. Who am I missing? I thought that was obvious.
I mean, one of them's obvious here. I'm going to give it to you, Luka Doncic.
Oh, he's a guard. I mean,
He
yeah,
counts.
I guess he's a
You know,
guard.
I used the filters on Basketball Reference, and this is
Yours
one guy.
that's
There's one
cheating,
guy
but
that you
that's
always forget when we play these games. I'm going to tell you right now. Maybe that'll help you to guess it.
All right, fine. Just tell me.
Damian Lillard.
Oh yeah, dude. That would be.
He's forgettable.
I
This season,
did
to be
forget
fair.
him last time too. Is this Dame's best season too?
It might
Is, like,
be. Let me read
at,
you
like,
this though.
age 33 or whatever he is.
Free throws per game of those 5 players. Doncic is at 11. SGA, Shea, is at 10.7. Dame is at 9.6. And then you have the other 2 guys that are just like a whole level below them in Booker at 6.5 and Steph at 5.1. And you factor in the fact that Devin Booker shoots significantly less 3-point shots than Steph Curry. The offensive profile and the type of season that Booker is having to be able to score 28 points per game on 60% plus true shooting percentage is just wholly unique. There's really nobody like him. You know, the other 3 guys above him, Doncic, SGA, and Dame, all do it at the free throw line. Dame, of course, adds the 3-point percentage in his, like you said, this is one of his best seasons as well. And then Steph on the other side of that, also a jump shooter. I think Book and Steph are similar in ways that I think a lot of Warriors fans would not want to admit. But Steph does it so much at the 3-point line, and that makes his profile so drastically different than Book's. Book is just a really unique player at what he's doing at this level of efficiency. You don't see a lot. The closest is probably Kevin Durant. That's the only other guy. He's just not a guard. He's 7 feet tall.
Sure. Steph is different from Book in that kind of repertoire sense, obviously, but I have found it kind of amusing. So much of it comes down to that shitty loss against the Lakers a few nights ago. I mean, that's really what sprouted this whole, I don't even know if you'd call it a debate, but this whole question of free throw shooting specifically, and I think that's multifaceted, and I think we can cover it from a number of different angles if you're interested in talking about that. Yeah. But I just thought it was kind of amusing witnessing almost an alliance for the first time between Warriors fans and Suns fans online, advocating for their guy, Steph for Warriors fans and Booker for Suns fans. and willing to form this alliance only if it meant that this is how much both of these fan bases hate the Lakers, or this is how much both of these fan bases
hate
want
the
to
refs
expose.
too,
yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, but want to expose, the lighter whistle that the Lakers specifically are getting, because I think that's kind of where a lot of the spotlight has gone in this discussion. For me, it's not even so much about the Suns, because I think my position has always been, I think you could advocate for Booker to get a better whistle. I think a lot of these other players that we have frustrate the shit out of me. Like if you're Campaign or Landry Shamet or one of these players who's jacking up 9 or 10 foot floaters instead of going all the way in the lane. I don't really think there's a case for you to be getting more free throws than you currently are. But that's a different thing from saying, hey, why do the Lakers have more than double the free throw differential on the season of the next highest team? You know what I mean? Like they're shooting, you can see graphics going around NBA Twitter right now that the Lakers are shooting hundreds upon hundreds of more free throw attempts than other teams on the season.
And that got worse after the famous LeBron tantrum that he threw when they missed a call. The refs missed a call in that Celtics-Lakers Saturday night game, a few weeks ago. The differential got significantly worse in favor of the Lakers after that. Yeah. I think the thing about the conversation when it comes to the refs, because I actually am bothered by the Lakers part, which you did sort of differentiate, and I'm glad you did. That part drives me crazy, because it's just like, is that real? I mean, it's not. Is that real? I mean, a lot of the Austin Reeves calls are real calls, but there are also calls that don't get called for everyone. Like the biggest difference I made, the contrast that I tried to draw was when he was facing full court pressure and just kind of pushing off of guys to get that space. Chris Paul does that 10 times a game, doesn't ever get that call unless he falls over and like dramatically sells it. And he didn't have to do that. Austin Reeves is just getting that call. And I think that's the big difference. They let things go on guys they're more used to, and they're not letting things go with Austin Reeves. But the other side of that conversation, and this is kind of what I wanted to have the conversation with you about, because Kellen and I briefly touched on it. I think the Sacramento Kings game probably aligned all Suns fans on this, where I think maybe we weren't all aligned previously. But I was already at the point where I was just tired of them complaining, particularly during the games. I just don't think there's any point of trying to make a point during the games, which is something I think Devin Booker did. For example, in the Lakers game, Austin Reeves got a call. Devin Booker went to the ref, got an explanation on the call, and then spent the next 3 possessions trying to get that same call on the other end just to make a point.
Yeah.
And then in the Sacramento Kings game, there was a call that Devin Booker thought should have been called against him, and then he ran back and fouled purposely on the other end, complained to the ref, and then got a tech, and then that's when they went on a 22-5 run. And it was just that kind of complaining, that kind of lack of focus, where instead of being focused on the opponent and the way they needed to defend in particular, they were focused on the calls that they were getting and the way the refs were calling it. And to me, that kind of thing, it just doesn't work. And people often say, I want Monty to get a tech too. I don't think that works either. Like, none of that works. I'm sorry. The reason the Suns don't get a lot of calls, yes, Booker could get better calls, but Booker whining to the refs in their face game after game is not going to do it. It's just not. In fact, it might have the opposite effect on it.
Absolutely, it might have the opposite effect. Although we saw a positive effect in a different sense over the past 2 games for Booker. If you want positive things to happen, you need to kind of embrace the message and start to attack the basket more. And I actually think we have seen it against the Kings and against the Sixers. He had 14 free throws against the Kings.
Yeah.
He had 9 free throws against the Sixers.
Yeah.
Why did it happen? Maybe because on the season for Booker, 22% of his field goal attempts come within 5 feet. In just the past 2 games, 13 of his 34 attempts came within 5 feet. That's 38%. That's a big jump. And what happens? All of a sudden, you get to the free throw line more. To me, it's not rocket science. It's just not. But yeah, that Kings loss was so incredibly disappointing because of how hard we've been ragging on the bench, and like the bench needs to step up. They need to give us good performances, and finally you get a game where they give you 60 combined points between 3 guys, and it's the guys who are supposed to be veterans. Yeah. It's not just Devin Booker, by the way. Chris Paul was behaving like a jackass in that game.
Yeah.
And him and Booker combined lost us that one.
I just don't think it's a good idea for them to worry about that too much during the game. Like at a certain point, if you want to complain after the game or whatever, like there are ways, by the way, I don't know if everyone knows this, where a team can send clips into the league and say, look at this, we thought this was a foul, it wasn't called, that kind of thing. Well, does it have impacts? Maybe. We don't really know. Like that's the side of...
I think the Suns have done that before, too.
I think every team does, to an extent, too. I think every team does.
And you know what happens? You know what happens when any organization says that it'll investigate itself internally? So like I understand why they distrust that process.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean,
technically it's there. It's an avenue.
I think you bring up a good point, though, and I don't really think the Suns have any counter to increasing the free throw attempts. Like, Damian Lee was starting to do those Euro steps on the way to the rim. I think Damian Lee can, for the amount of shots he takes, had a pretty good free throw rate at the rim just because he kind of stopped shooting floaters halfway through the season, started getting to the rim. He's not playing. We'll cover him, the bench, more later. But Devin Booker can be the guy that gets to the rim. Kevin Durant's going to have a lot of, he's going to get fouled a lot just because he's hard to guard. So he's going to have a pretty big impact on that. Chris Paul's not. And at this point, we can all admit DeAndre Ayton's not. Like, those guys are not going to have a big impact on the foul rate the Suns are going to get.
Look,
and
I'm just going to say
can
the
have
difference
some
there.
impact, but,
I mean, there was that one game when Monty was bitching about the Lakers game. It was like Booker had 12 free throws and Okogie had 6.
Yeah, right.
And that was the entire team, basically. So, yeah, Okogie will have games where he drives because he's reckless, and he'll get 5 or 6 or 7 free throw attempts. And he's not a bad free throw shooter either. Right. So that helps. I'm just going to say the difference between Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. Chris Paul, I don't really think has the capacity to get to the free throw line anymore because I don't think it's worth it for him to push his body to get there. I think you'd rather he just takes the mid-range jumpers. DeAndre Ayton has the physical capacity. By all means, I would encourage people to continue to push him to attack, to be forceful when he goes to the rim. Does that mean I think it's going to happen? No. I've watched DeAndre Ayton for 5 seasons. I know the type of player he is. He's, in many ways, watching the past few games without DeAndre Ayton, I've gained a newfound appreciation for his game as well, and I'm really excited to see him back starting in this game. Actually, that happens tonight that we're not going to be able to obviously cover on this episode against Utah. I'm really excited to see him back, but do I think he's going to get 8 or 10 free throw attempts all of a sudden? It would be a shock.
It would be insanely shocking. Yeah, it would be amazing. You would be happy, of course. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because he is back. We're recording this, for the record, Monday morning-ish, like midday Monday. So, yeah, we're not going to be watching the Jazz game, so we're covering this after the 76ers game, basically. And he's coming back, and it's very good that he's coming back. I actually thought Biyombo played way better than I anticipated with Embiid playing. I think Embiid may have been slightly hampered. I know he's out against the Nuggets today. But as soon as I saw Biyombo starting across from Embiid, I thought, oh, well, he's going to foul out. We're going to get 18 good minutes of Biyombo hacking Embiid in this game, and he didn't. He just played pretty well the whole game, I thought.
Yeah, he got in foul trouble eventually, but it was inevitable. I was openly advocating for Jock to start that game.
Yeah.
And he proved me wrong.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't think Jock could stop Joel Embiid, obviously, but I just thought, look, Biz can't do it either, so you might as well go with a guy who can play a little bit out of the short roll. Jock had done so well in the Sacramento game otherwise that maybe you can outscore them. Maybe you can generate more offense. And, Biz completely shut me up on that front.
Biz had 17 points.
He played a fantastic... He finished baskets.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't happen at all. You can't rely on that. It's going to happen every once in a while, but you can't rely on it.
Say what you will about DeAndre Ayton too, man. But he's also a solid free throw. He doesn't get there a lot.
The difference between Jock, Biz, and Ayton is huge. Ayton is just miles better than those two guys when it comes to starting.
What is Biz shooting at the free throw line right now? Do you want to guess?
30%, I'm guessing.
I don't understand what happened. I mean, I don't understand the psychology of free throws. It's so fascinating. It's like the ocean. We don't understand anything about it. The NBA has been around forever. It's like the universe. What is going on? Bismack is a 55% free throw shooter for his career, which is bad.
Yeah.
But it's not 30%. He's at 29.5% this season. And I recently it's just felt like he goes to the line And my baseline expectation is actually that he misses both. I'm like, can you give us one? I'll take one. So obviously that's not, like, to me, that's not really being a playoff like, you're not going to be in the final 8-man rotation in the playoffs if someone can just hack you to the line and we can't expect you to make even a single free throw.
Looking forward to DeAndre and coming back and the team being whole. The team is whole, basically.
He's going to be great.
As soon as Wednesday against Minnesota, which is when Kevin Durant is back, which we haven't even mentioned yet. Just to wrap up the conversation on Devin Booker, I think this will be a nice segue into our conversation that I want to have about the Suns bench. Here's some stats I thought were interesting, and I think I'm interested to know how you feel about these. With Chris Paul and Devin Booker on the court, the Suns are plus 112 this season. When Devin Booker is on the court without Chris Paul, the Suns are plus 52 this season, meaning if Devin Booker's on the court, the Suns are winning the majority of the minutes. When Chris Paul is on the court without Devin Booker this season, the Suns are minus 69. And when Chris Paul and Ayton are on the court together without Devin Booker, the Suns are minus 134. So, to talk about Devin Booker having his best season so far, which we believe he is, I think to some extent, I personally have undersold the extent to which Booker is carrying the Suns this season, because we used to have a team where when Book and Chris Paul were on the court together, they were killing teams. But when Chris Paul was on the court without Devin Booker, they were still beating teams. And we just haven't been that team so far this season. Chris Paul is not able to carry the team the way he was. The combination of Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton together without Devin Booker, not even close. In fact, the Suns are getting killed in those minutes so far this season. But he has been so good. And you can see why. Any thoughts on those before I transition it into the bench?
Yeah, it's just a surprise. I'll just reiterate that, I guess. I wouldn't have expected it to be that bad for Chris and DeAndre together. I would have thought maybe net, like, neutral. Not minus 130, whatever you said. Yeah,
minus 134. It is a surprise, but I do think there is sometimes people watching the Suns, specifically in these minutes without Kevin Durant, and they'll say something like, why are they playing an all-bench lineup? You know, you get mad about that. And you look at the stats and you go, okay, well, now I kind of can see why. Because the all-bench lineups are not really... It kind of makes sense if you can find a way that they're actually cooking relatively well. You know, I think Chris Paul and Booker together... Chris Paul has been not great this season in general, but when Chris Paul and Devin Booker are playing together, it still works really well. There's something about their chemistry that still works. And same with DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. I think the DeAndre Ayton season, I think how you feel about it varies from Suns fan to Suns fan. But when Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton are on the court together, still very, very great. So when I look at these stats and I see that when you have a starter that's on the floor that's like considered to be one of our most important starters, and Devin Booker's not on the floor and it's going badly, then you kind of really understand the importance of the bench playing well. And we had 2 great games where the bench is starting to look really good, dare I say. It's 2 games, but 68 points against Sacramento, which was the most the Suns bench has scored all season. And then 53, followed that up with 53 points against Philadelphia. So back-to-back games where they scored a lot of points. And I think, you know, we can talk about why, but what have you thought about the Suns bench in the last few games?
Well, it's been amazing in the past couple games. It doesn't necessarily strongly change my feelings about some of these players, but it does make some of their cases are interesting enough that I do think we need to bring them up, and it's kind of just a case-by-case basis with these guys. So I think I'm still as confused as probably Monty is when it comes to selecting which 3 or 4 of them should be the final rotation, so to speak, the last like 8 guys that you go to in the playoffs. But I don't know. Do you think we're any closer to whittling it down after these 2 games? Because I think that would be an oversight. At the end of the day, this is still a small sample.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say we're a little bit closer. I think I like that he just didn't play Damian Lee. And it's not to say
that's fine.
It's not to say that Damian Lee's been bad, but I think he kind of has been bad. But I think just the idea of going, well, he's just not playing. Like even in the end of games when the Suns were just up by more than 20 against the 76ers, he was just like, still no Damian Lee. Damian Lee's just not playing this game. We're whittling it down to less players to try and figure out what we got in these players. And I think TJ Warren, as much as I have not been a big believer in what he's capable of doing, has had 2 great games.
Eat shit. Yes.
Now, one thing I'll say with TJ, though, he still leaves shooters wide open, and sometimes those shooters miss, and that is sort of the luck of the draw. And I think in the Sacramento game, in his minutes in particular, which were good and one of the best as far as plus minus, I think a lot of that had to do with just, Trey Lyles missing wide open threes, which he was leaving him open. But to give TJ the time to figure out what he's got, because he's been injured and you kind of have to see what's there, was a good idea. And the fact that he was making threes and finding ways to create his awkward shots off the dribble, those are the type of offensive juice that you can't get from other guys now. And you put the guys together that have been playing. There's been three main guys that have been playing in the bench units for the Suns so far in the last 2 games: Payne, TJ, and Ross. Those are the 3 main guys. Outside of that, we've had Shamet sometimes playing. Shamet often so far in the last few games playing in 3-guard lineups, mostly with Devin Booker at 3. Like Shamet and Book have been playing a lot together recently, so it was a combination of like Payne, Shamet, and Booker playing together, which I liked. That's looked pretty good so far. But, in the Philadelphia game, Okogie spent quite a bit of time, I thought, with those all-bench lineups, and it worked. It worked pretty well, I thought, which I think with Okogie, you kind of want to insulate him with as much offense as possible. But kind of, if you have Shamet, Ross, and TJ just kind of launching threes with Payne just running to the rim as much as possible, and sometimes there's a center, and sometimes there's not. Monty was playing Ish at center for some of these minutes, and it kind of worked.
That has been a huge trend recently, I think, that we've seen the small ball 5 minutes, and in some games it's worked, and in some games it hasn't. Sometimes it's Ish Wainwright, sometimes it's Darius Baisley. But I think it's all just in preparation for ultimately finding who are going to be the other 4 guys around Kevin Durant in that spot. Yep. We're going to see the Kevin Durant small ball center lineup minutes. Eventually, I feel much more confident in that proposition now after the past couple of weeks. We just need to get KD back out there.
The question for the bench lineups, because these guys, as the lineups shorten, right? Less guys play as the playoffs come. The question will still be for Ross and TJ, if they're going to play, can they defend? And I've seen more of an effort by them to defend. They're still not great.
Please. No, I want to put some respect on TJ's name for a second, because first of all, here's a stat for you.
Mm-hmm.
Stat boy. Who is the second? Well, I'm not going to phrase it as a question because you're going to know where I'm going with this. TJ Warren has botched that a little bit. TJ Warren has currently the second best net rating, on-off net rating of any Suns player. He is a plus. The Suns are a plus 11.8 per 100 possessions in the only 126 minutes that TJ Warren has played as a member of the Suns. This is from NBA.com/stats. It's not from Cleaning the Glass, which means I'm sure some of that is garbage time. I don't
Well,
have
the last 2 games in
Glass
particular,
subscription.
They were just killing it. The bench were, the starters lost the sack game, and the bench was killing it against Philly. So those 2 games alone probably had a lot to do with that.
Yes, but the reason it's interesting to me is Terrence Ross has played 245 minutes with the Suns, so double what TJ has. And his net rating, I actually don't have the exact number here, Mike, but it's not good. It is not good. His defensive rating I have here, it's a 125.5 when Terrence Ross is on the court. For comparison, or for reference, the San Antonio Spurs rank 30th in the NBA for their team defensive rating, which is a 119.5. When Terrence Ross is on the court, since he's joined the Suns roster, they are 6 points per 100 possessions, worse than that. It's very, very, very bad. It has been better the past 2 games, but mostly because he's launching shots and he's making the shots that he launches. It's not because the defense has been significantly better. I just want to draw a contrast versus TJ, because I think TJ's on-ball defense, at the very least, was pretty damn good against Philly.
Yeah, no, I
actually think it was.
I agree.
I think,
that was the best effort defensively he's had this season.
If you were paying attention to the bench, I think this was the most fun part about watching it, is watching TJ shuffle his feet, watching him fight over screens, and almost goad the Sixers into wanting those one-on-one scenarios, wanting those ISO situations where they feel like he's a mismatch, but then they couldn't convert. And if you were watching the bench, who was cheering TJ on the hardest? Like, who was going craziest for that shit? It was Devin Booker and it was Kevin Durant. In fact, Devin Booker got out of his seat at one point after TJ Warren got a stop against, I think it was like Shake Milton in the fourth quarter, and then turned that right into a transition 3 on the other end. Like, they know that he needs to earn his minutes through defense, and I think we're seeing some more hints of it recently.
I think the best case scenario
it's not
for
Ross.
the Suns,
it's not Ross level bad, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I think Ross has been abhorrent, but it has gotten better. But let's say the best case scenario for the Suns is that TJ Warren puts it together defensively enough that he earns the shots offensively, because there's not a lot of guys who can, once there's a few seconds of the shot clock, we've had this conversation before, there's not a lot of guys on the bench that you want just kind of dribbling it towards the rim. And TJ is one of the 2 guys, basically, because it's just him or Campaign. Those are the only 2 guys that you can really trust to take those shots in those minutes if you're talking about bench guys only. Because we know what Terrence Ross is out there to do. He's not going to dribble, and we don't really want him to. Right? That's, to his credit, that's what we want. We want him to launch the threes the way he's been doing. And
well, he dribbles into like mid-range.
One dribble.
Stuff.
Yeah. Like one dribble is fine.
He has 1 or 2 dribble pull-ups. I mean, again, like this was what I was talking about in the earlier segment too. He's not going to get to the free throw line. None of these guys are. TJ has had 30 points in the past 2 games, right? Combined here or there. And did he get to the free throw line once? I think maybe he had 1 or 2 free throws.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's like none of these guys, even when they're hitting, Campaign when he's hitting, Terrence Ross, Landry Shamet, TJ Warren, none of them are embracing contact like they're going to get 5 or 6 or 7 free throw attempts.
What you brought up and how we're talking about Terrence Ross in particular, I do think that the Suns have lost basically 6 games since the Kevin Durant trade. And they've played, 9, 10? I think 10 games since then. So, yeah, 6 out of 10 in those times. The 3 first wins were with Kevin Durant. The other 2 wins are versus Orlando and then Philadelphia here at home. Now, you look at those games individually. The first one, Sacramento loss by 9. The second one, you lose to Golden State by 11. Then you have the Milwaukee loss by 12. You have the Oklahoma City loss by 4. The Lakers lost by 11. And then the Kings lost the most recent one that they should have won, which ended up being by 12. Now, your first question I ask is, will Kevin Durant help fix these games, these 6 games? And probably, yeah. The Suns probably win 5 of those. They maybe have 1 loss, in my opinion. But take him out of it. Take Kevin Durant out of those games. Now you're also taking Mikal Bridges out. Now you're also taking Cameron Johnson out. I think the extent to which the Suns were such a brand new team once Kevin Durant was taken out of the lineup has made me just less worried about this skid than I think I've seen a lot of people. Because Terrence Ross is in a new role. And we're talking about Terrence Ross in a brand new role. TJ Warren is in a brand new role. To some extent, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton are. I mean, less so once Durant was taken out of the mix. Devin Booker was sort of in a brand new role. The version of the Suns that we've seen trying to work through these mistakes over these last 8 games, I think it's just so dramatically different than what we've seen. This has been such a weird season overall in general. To see them starting to put it together over the last few games, it just makes sense to me. Even Terrence Ross starting to figure out defensively. Because I agree with your stats. I mean, they're there. You can watch him play. But learning the scheme, he talked about it. It's just so different than what they did in Orlando, which from what I can tell in Orlando was nothing. Did they have any plans? I couldn't really figure it out when watching it.
Man, they've actually had some good wins recently, to be fair to Orlando.
They're
figuring it out too.
Yeah, but they are. But like the Suns are so disciplined when it comes to defense, whether or not people that are Suns fans who only watch the Suns realize it. Like you mentioned, talking about watching the Raptors up close offensively compared to the Suns are very disciplined when it comes to defense. There's a reason that throughout all the turmoil they've had this season, they've maintained top 10 defense the whole season. And for new guys to come into the system and to try to figure it out, and for the Suns to have all these different things that they're trying to try and figure out, it's no surprise to me that they've lost these games. And I think now seeing the bench sort of figure it out, I'm not sure how much it's going to extend. Like they shoot a lot of threes, which I like. And, especially because the starting lineup is not going to shoot a lot of threes. But this sort of era, this sort of time where they're figuring it out kind of sucks, because if you have Durant, you can probably do that and still win. But without him, it's no surprise that you're losing a lot of these games to me, I guess. What have you thought about the skid?
For sure. The skid. I mean, yeah, it's tough. I mean, ultimately, I haven't looked at what the Suns' clutch stats are this season. To be honest,
Bad.
I know they're not good, but
Kellen wrote about it.
Yeah, I know. No, yeah, I sorry, Kellen, I didn't read that particular article. I just don't know what the record is. But yes, I would have a feeling that they could probably gain a lot of those games back. Yeah, I don't know. I hope we figure it out soon, man.
Yeah.
I think we talked. We stressed the importance of Landry coming back, I think, and I still kind of feel like it's great that Terrence Ross played a couple of great games. It's great that TJ played a couple of great games, but I still just kind of feel like when it really gets down, when it's time to choose who are going to be the two guards that come off the bench in the playoffs, I'm still kind of feeling like Monty leans with old reliable again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I feel about that right now. He doesn't have the ceiling, but I'm not sure he has the floor either of some of these other guys.
Yeah, and when Ross really has it going, there's a lot of value in that. You can really see it, right? Like he had 30 points in a game recently. I think it was Sacramento. And it's just nice to have a flamethrower. Like, the Suns haven't had a flamethrower like that in such a long time.
I can't even remember. Probably since Gerald Green.
Yeah, maybe Gerald. Yeah.
Like maybe he's the last one.
Yeah, I guess you have to say. I mean, you're not going to say Langston Galloway then, huh?
No,
he never had 30.
Galloway is in a different. No, because if I say Langston Galloway, then I have to say like Troy Daniels too. Like just guys who shoot. There's a difference to me between guys who shoot just catch and shoots, which is what Langston Galloway and Troy Daniels were, versus Terrence Ross is taking pull-ups. He just is. He's a Gerald Green style player. Yeah, that's like I don't know who Terrence Ross modeled his game after. I don't know if he would consider it an insult.
Yeah.
If we compare him to players like Gerald Green.
Well, we love Gerald
J.R.
Green.
Smith.
I mean, I do at least.
Yeah, and J.R. Smith as well. I think is like a natural comparison, but like to me, that's who he's trying to be. So go out and do that.
So, well, I'm gonna keep an eye on the bench. I think this Utah game is a good example of. I think Clarkson's out too in the Utah game. Most people listening have already seen that game, but I think it'll be a good time to see what the Suns bench can do. And then we have Wednesday against Minnesota. This is when Kevin Durant's back. As far as we know, right? It seems like it's going to be when Kevin Durant's back. And then there are 7 games left of the season. DeAndre Ayton's supposed to be back tonight in Utah, so that means the full starting group should be back. And then I think it'll be one of the first times of the season where everyone will be available for the Suns to play, as long as nobody is injured tonight in Utah. So you got Minnesota, Denver. These are both home. At OKC. Then you got San Antonio and Denver at home as well. At Lakers. And then home versus Clippers. And those are the rest of the games for the Suns this season. And that is with...
So basically...
Mm-hmm. With
one easy game against San Antonio.
One easy game against San Antonio. Then
teams.
And then Denver is locked into like the first seed by the time the Suns are playing against them. Like that's not...
That's not a bad point. Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with them, but outside of that, you have Utah tonight, which everyone knows the outcome of. But then Minnesota needs to win. OKC
is Utah still fighting? Have they given up? Do they care?
I mean, they're in the playing race.
Out. I feel like they're not,
maybe they're not going to care.
But that's what I'm asking. Like, are they really?
Yeah, maybe they don't care. That's a good point. So yeah, there's that. But then outside of that, the Lakers need to win. Denver doesn't necessarily need to win, but OKC does. Minnesota does. And the Clippers are in an interesting situation where Paul George might not even be available that game, and that's the last game of the season. And, they might be sliding at that point. They might need to win just to stay out of the play-in race. And so that could be a really important game for the Clippers. So, the Suns are not going into this last 7-game stretch thinking, all right, we're going to blow through all these teams. Of course, they're going to try, and they might be able to, just because Kevin Durant's possibly the best player in the NBA. But they're still going to have a nice little challenge, I think, which is good for the Suns before the playoffs end. And all that to say that Kevin Durant went out, the Suns were the 4 seed. Kevin Durant's coming back, Suns are probably going to be the 4 seed.
The Suns are they're the 4 seed.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on the Utah result. But
it depends on the Utah result and whoever else is playing. I haven't kept track of that tonight.
We really needed that. We really needed that Sixers win so bad, though.
Yeah.
Just like looking at the standings here, how depressing would this episode have been, the tone, had we had also dropped the Sixers game?
Yeah, that would have been rough.
We needed that
and
game.
the plays, too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's true.
Right now we're in a place where the Clippers are the not healthy team now, it was flipped before, where the Suns were the not healthy team and the Clippers were healthy. And the Clippers are half a game, as of this recording, behind the Suns. If the Suns win tonight, they can put a little more space between them and the Clippers. And then the Warriors, who still are playing relatively well, but in the last 10 are still 5-5. And, if they have any road games, we'll see how well they play. And then the Timberwolves are right below that. So the Warriors are 1 game behind the Suns. Timberwolves are 1.5 games behind the Suns. There's a chance that the Timberwolves get all the way up to that 5 seed, and there's a potential, if the Suns can hold on to the 4 seed, there's a potential Wolves-Suns first-round matchup. If the Clippers drop with Paul George and the Warriors just have another skid on the road, and that would be kind of interesting.
I'm not particularly afraid of the Wolves in a direct head-to-head matchup with us. I do think it's kind of interesting just from the vantage point of, I don't mind seeing some redemption for the Wolves in a sense. If they're playing anyone other than the Suns, that is.
Yeah.
Given the way some people have talked about them this season, given how many games Karl Anthony Towns missed and so on. But who's not there in all of those teams that you mentioned, Mike?
That's right.
Who's not in that top 10? Currently 11th in the Western Conference.
Not even in the play-in race.
Not even in a game back of the play-in race as of today.
Dude,
they will play the
suck.
Indiana Pacers tonight.
I think they're 3-8. 3-8 when both Kyrie and Luka play.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Luka, by the way, should not be available to play tonight, but he will be because he received his 16th technical foul in their last game, and that was just rescinded. This news came out just before we started recording here by the league office, so he will be able to play against the Pacers tonight.
Second year in a row, the NBA has rescinded his 16th technical, by the way.
Look, all I'm saying is, obviously, it's fun following the NBA right now because of the parity, because of the utmost importance of every single game, every single match in the Western Conference right now. But the unintended consequence of that, or maybe it's an intended consequence, it's pretty easy to be a conspiracy theorist right now.
Yeah.
Between
the Lakers. And,
the Lakers shooting 1,000 free throws more than anyone else. Luka Doncic getting his 16th technical rescinded for some reason, so he gets to play again. Who knows? If we're lucky, maybe he picks up his 16th tech again tonight.
That'd be so funny. If they got a tech and they lost, that'd be so funny.
I don't think he'd be able to duck it 2 games in a row. But if you're into conspiracy theories, I kind of feel like this is your season, because go wild.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty solid chance they're not going to even be in the play-in race, which is just pretty wild. And considering Luka Doncic was leading the MVP odds before the season even began, I don't think you can make the case for that anymore at all. And I don't know if maybe they have to rethink those odds in general when it comes to next season. And who knows what it's even going to happen when it comes to Kyrie Irving. And can I just say, what are we, 55 minutes into this podcast or so? I'm just going to say this now, since it's sort of buried, maybe not everyone will hear it. There have been some reports of Kyrie Irving and the Suns in the offseason. And if you're a Suns fan and you want to picture that, feel free to picture it. But I just want to point out that basically the only way for that to happen, because it would be a sign and trade, is if you waive and stretch Chris Paul and then trade DeAndre into the Dallas Mavericks to get Kyrie Irving. So if you're picturing the Suns with Kyrie Irving, I just don't want to see any, who's going to stop this team with Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, DeAndre, and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, because that's not the reality of what it would be. It would have to be, some combination of Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and minimum contracts, basically, is the only way to do it.
I just think, if you still would say yes to that, which I think most people then would say, oh, okay, no, we're not going to do it. If you still want it to happen, it's kind of stupid. Is there anyone out there who still would want to sacrifice the offensive poise brought by Chris Paul and the defensive presence, at least at his best, when he's trying, brought by DeAndre Ayton, certainly an offensive presence too, all for Kyrie Irving?
And you'll be hard capped.
Kyrie Irving?
Because the reason you'd have to get rid of Chris Paul and DeAndre is because in order to do a sign and trade, it would cause the Suns to be hard capped. And I'm sure there's some nuance to this that David will help correct me on after he hears this podcast. But you'd have to create some semblance of cap space by waiving and stretching Chris Paul, and you'd have to sign and trade DeAndre in order to fit Kyrie Irving onto the Suns, and that still is not even at his max. He'd probably have to take some sort of discount in order to do that. Then the Suns would be hard capped on top of that. Compared to if you are in a scenario where the Suns need to improve after the offseason by getting rid of one of those two guys, you can keep one of them and trade the other. That's another scenario where the Suns can improve. Like you keep Chris Paul, you trade DeAndre in. You keep DeAndre in, you try to attach some sort of asset, maybe one pick to Chris Paul, to a team that's willing to trade some level of player that you could get back in return, where then now you have 4 good players instead of 3. There's versions of the Suns in the offseason, which I'm looking forward to having offseason conversations. I like having them. But let's not have them now.
I'm not.
Let's not have them now.
I am looking forward to an NBA championship.
Yep, that would be great.
After which, there, we're leading it off there.
Yeah.
After which we will have a quiet offseason where we give our taxpayer MLE to Josh Okogie and beg him to stay. And then we can
Blake
debate
Griffin
a bunch
signs.
of... Yes, and then we can debate a bunch of
ring chasers,
exceptionally boring veteran minimum signings, and debate which guys will play well for us off the bench without contributing too much to Matt Ishbia's luxury tax bill. That is the offseason that I want to have. I do not want to have these Kyrie discussions every week. I'm just saying my piece about it now. But who knows? I guess we'll see how the next couple of months go first.
Yep. Now we'll see who reports it as the Suns are offering DeAndre into the Mavericks in a sign and trade this offseason, now that we've said that's the only way it's possible. Because that's the next step of the grift when it comes to these kinds of conversations that we're having. But I mean, it is funny to go, hey, the Mavs season is totally collapsing now that they have Kyrie Irving. Should we trade for him? I don't know if that's a bad idea. I would say, but I get why people want to have that conversation at some point, and it's nice to see the Mavs out of it. It would be hilarious if they don't even make the playoffs after all the shit they've talked all season. Any other thoughts on the standings? Anything else stand out to you? I think the 3 most likely opponents, if the Suns hold on to the 4 seed, are Clippers, Warriors, or Timberwolves at this point, right? I mean, I don't really see a scenario where the Pelicans, Lakers make it up there. I mean, it's possible, but I just doubt it.
The Pelicans, I didn't even realize that the Pelicans have won 4 in a row. I'm only looking at it now.
After losing 6 in a row, for the record.
I know, but they're only a game and a half back. That would be a pretty funny repeat series. Not one that I'd particularly look forward to. But
if Zion's not playing,
funny.
it's less. It's still scary if Zion plays. How do you defend him in the playoffs?
No, if Zion plays, the Pelicans are still scary. Yeah. I heard Kellen talked about this, right? He was like, the Pelicans were the team that scared him at one point this season. Like, he thought that they were going to win the Western Conference, and I was right there with him. In December, after they kicked our ass 2 times, I was terrified of the Pelicans, and
they thought they were winning the conference too.
It all went to shit because Zion couldn't stay healthy, which is what everyone always said. Yeah. Yes, they also if we've learned anything from the Mavericks and from the Pelicans over the past 12 months, it's that, I don't know, maybe just don't talk that much shit. Like, I don't, karma might be a real thing.
At the very least, don't celebrate
So-
before the season's over. That's something
Sure.
the Pelicans were doing, and the Grizzlies have been known to. The Grizzlies are still good, by the way, won 6 in a row.
Maybe the Suns have, learned that lesson in the past as well.
I
And
would hope
maybe
so.
We'll apply Suns in 4, counting money stacks, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Oh, the fans?
And,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
There are fans
And
that are
maybe-
there now listening to a podcast after losing 3 of the last 4 that are here listening to this podcast. And then there are fans who count money courtside. Those are different fans, Sam. So I'm not sure that those fans learn any lesson.
All right, to bring it all around, when are we sitting courtside at a Suns game together?
Charlotte
And
next
how many
year, yeah.
And how many stacks are we bringing? How much money are we bringing
To count courtside?
to that game? How many times do you want to get robbed in downtown Charlotte with me next year?
Well, maybe Monopoly money. It might have to be Monopoly money. All right. That's all we got this week. We should be good to actually record a Patreon podcast this week. So I'm looking forward to that as well, because that'll be after
Probably after
the KD
after
game.
the T-Wolves game.
Yeah. And, keep an eye on us. We'll probably talk about when we're doing our next playback. We haven't quite figured it out, but we'll announce that at some point in the next few days as well. We'll figure that out. But yeah, Patreon podcast after the KD home debut, by the way. Finally get a home game with KD, hopefully Wednesday. So podcast Thursday. If you'd like to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/thetimeline. We have a Discord. You can join at $3 a month, hear extra podcasts at $6 a month. But that's all we got. Anything else from you, Sam?
No, that's all. Have a wonderful week, folks, and hopefully see you Thursday.
Thanks, everyone.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, blue label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.